A few months from now, you're playing the Ruined DLC for Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. You stand before a door. Behind it is Patient 46, one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of the base game. After over a year of speculation, their identity is finally going to be revealed. You swing open the door, and standing before you is evil robot Charlie Baby from the books.
Mwahaha! It is I, Patient 46, otherwise known as Evil Robot Charlie Baby from the books.
Who?
You know, Charlie, Evil Robot Charlie Baby from the books. From the books.
Most players consider Security Breach's Afton ending to be canon. It always felt the most canon, and it was the only one with an animated cutscene, and it was the most content-rich ending, requiring the player to complete all the side quests in the game. With the upcoming Ruin DLC taking place in a destroyed but not burnt to the ground pizzaplex, it's almost certain that the story is going to pick up after Glamrock Freddy and Gregory defeat Afton in the bowels of the pizzaplex. This ending has always been really weird. Rather than simply flee at the first opportunity, Gregory elects to remain in the pizzaplex and solve the mysteries, though exactly what he expects to accomplish is left ambiguous. Throughout the post-game, he wanders around, completing the remaining objectives, and upon installing the optional final upgrade into Glamrock Freddy, Gregory gets a call on his Fazwatch. It's Vanessa.
Hey, little man. Do you know what time it is? The doors are open. Why are you still here? You plan on moving in, or you just want a job? You would make a great security guard.
Throughout the game, Vanessa has been hunting us, but she's only trying to kill us when she's in her Vanny persona. Addressing Gregory as if he's just some random kid who got locked in the pizzaplex overnight isn't that out of character for her. Immediately afterwards, though, she says this.
Gregory, I think you deserve a reward. Go check the main stage.
This call from Vanessa is what leads Gregory and Freddy down to the FNAF 6 location, and it ultimately results in Afton falling into the blob's clutches as the pizzaplex collapses, presumably setting up the Ruin DLC. Vanny and Vanessa are completely absent from this ending, other than this final phone call at the end of the game. It's the last thing Vanessa does. Ask yourself something. Why would Vanessa tell Gregory exactly where to find Afton? At that point in the game, she's still under Glitchtrap's influence, and she's still working with him to presumably bring him back to life or whatever. Furthermore, the voice line itself is really suspicious. She's talking as if she hasn't just spent the entire night pursuing him. Immediately afterwards, though, she tells us that we deserve a reward and instructs us to head down to the blob. So why would either Vanessa or Vanny want Gregory or Freddy to confront Afton? Assuming her primary motivation was resurrecting him, why would she tell the only two people who could stop her exactly where to go in order to do so? Why wouldn't she just continue to let Gregory and Freddy aimlessly wander in circles in the pizzaplex while she quietly activates Burn Trap and declares victory or whatever, I don't know. What if Vanny and Burn Trap needed Gregory and Freddy for their plans? It's commonly accepted that Burn Trap was constructed from the remnants of Glamrock Bonnie's endoskeleton. Clues hidden within Security Breach suggest that Monty Gator might have killed Bonnie in order to commandeer his place as the band's bass player, with Vanny perhaps manipulating the events from behind the scenes. When Burn Trap emerges, we can see that he has the same enhanced claw that Monty was given to play the bass. Considering Bonnie played the bass prior to Monty, it's safe to assume that he also would have had this enhanced claw. More evidence that Burn Trap was constructed from Bonnie. The thing is, Bonnie was killed a while before the game took place, long enough that most of the branding has been switched to depict Monty as the bass player, not Bonnie. Afton had the Burn Trap body for quite some time prior to the game, so what was it that he and Vanny were doing? What were they waiting for? Well, we know that there were disappearances at the pizzaplex. Gregory references them directly to Glamrock Freddy when debating whether or not to flee the pizzaplex at 6 a.m.
If I leave now, nothing will change, will it? There will be more disappearances.
Yes, I am afraid that is correct.
Furthermore, if you choose to leave and get the bad ending, we see Gregory, apparently homeless, sleeping in an alleyway. If you pay attention to the newspaper he's using as a blanket, there's an article that shows what appear to be photos of missing children. The implication is obvious. Children have been going missing, and probably at the Fazbear facility. Now the story's starting to come together. Vanny was attempting to rebuild Afton, but she needed souls in order to manifest him. Vanny took advantage of the fact that she was the security guard at a massive children's facility. She began to kidnap children one by one so that their souls could be harvested and used to fuel Afton. Heck, when Gregory is chased into the lost and found room, we see a pile of clothes lying on the ground, children's clothes. Up until now, Vanny has been bringing children or their souls or remnant or whatever down here and administering it to Afton, yet this time when he's released, he ignores Gregory, the child, and goes straight for Glamrock Freddy, the fully upgraded self-aware robot. For a while now, Afton's motivations have been to acquire the perfect body. If the Glamrock Bonnie theory is to be believed, Vanny went far out of her way to manipulate Monty into killing Bonnie, all so that she could get Bonnie's endoskeleton with the enhanced hand. There are countless endoskeletons littered throughout the Pizzaplex, yet Afton explicitly wanted this one. Could it be that Vanny waited until Freddy had been upgraded into the perfect animatronic, with the sight of Roxy, the claws of Monty, and the speech capabilities of Chica? Then lured him and Gregory down into the FNAF 6 location so that Afton could seize control over them? As FNAF reminded everyone in his latest video, when Dawko asked Steel Wolf for one hint regarding security breach, they gave the word schematic.
About security breach that will get people excited. Even just one word, like a code or anything.
Schematics?
Okay, so pizza flavor. It's a bit of a difference there. Pizza flavored cotton candy and schematics. Okay.
Schematics normally refers to like technical diagrams, blueprints, stuff like that, and it fits in quite nicely with this interpretation. Someone behind the scenes has a design in mind, and they're manipulating things behind the scenes in order to construct those schematics. They need the souls of children, Monty's claws, Roxy's eyes, Chica's voice, and maybe even remnant from the Afton children. Speaking of the analogs between Security Breach's characters and the Afton kids, you don't need to buy into that for this theory to make sense, but if you do, then perhaps there's something substantial to Afton assimilating the remnant of his children into himself. It could be that this schematic calls for the souls of his own flesh and blood. It's possible. There's another possibility though. What if Vanessa sent us down there with the hopes that we would stop Afton? Do you require more substantiation?
You must construct additional pylons.
Shortly after the game came out, players discovered a strange series of characters printed on the wall of the game's mysterious sister location room. Next to it was a television playing the Freddy and Friends on Tour cartoon, which were promotional trailers released in the weeks leading up to Security Breach. Upon rewatching those cartoons, it was discovered that they contained hidden messages that provided cryptic instructions for decoding this cipher. Popular YouTuber Dawko and a team of volunteers got to work, and it was eventually discovered that the wall code was in fact a pigpen cipher. After countless hours of work, they finally decoded it, resulting in this bizarre poem thing. We all sort of interpreted it as best as we could, you know, oh yeah, breaking and mending, it's like killing people and bringing their souls back to life in robots, and dodge, duck, flash, shoot, it's all the stuff Gregory does in the game, yeah, that makes sense. After that though, we just moved on. There were other mysteries to solve, and with the message decoded, it just didn't seem like there was anything left to do. It was ultimately a dead end. Hold on. An extremely obscure code is hidden away in one of the most mysterious rooms in the game. Solving that code requires pulling instructions hidden in a series of videos released months before the game was even launched. And even after that, the code itself is a rather complex pigpen cipher that took Dawko and a bunch of other people hours to crack, and we're supposed to accept that it was just some flavor text, just a random poem, a little extra lore. We're supposed to believe that it isn't somehow critically important to solving the mystery of Security Breach? No way. Scott and Steel will put a lot of effort and preparation into this code. In spite of all the content that was presumably cut from Security Breach, they decided that this code was important enough that it needed to make its way in. The first question is obviously who wrote the code. I think it's Vanny, and I think that because the message is encoded in the first place. There's only one reason to obscure a message in code like this, and that's because you don't want someone else to be able to read it. Whoever wrote this code was trying to send this message while also keeping it a secret from someone else. Someone who would have had access to it. Someone inside the Pizzaplex. I think Vanny wrote the wall code as a message to Gregory during a brief moment of clarity from Afton's control, but she had to write it in code because otherwise she would have just erased it the next time she fell under Afton's influence and became Vanny again. The code itself is really strange and dense and full of nonsense that's hard to make sense of, but it has to be important. The bizarre section in the center with fraught and thought and zest and jest, and it's so random, it almost looks like there may be another code hidden within the deciphered code. Cry not, try not, do not hold out hope. These aren't words you choose deliberately because they sound cool or produce good poetry. I mean, what the hell is no blunt woes? Yeah, dodge, duck, flash, shoot, crawl, run. I guess that's all the stuff Gregory does in the game, but there's no way they'd make a mystery this deep and complex and involved just to give us a random poem. They wouldn't just give us a bunch of verbs relating to the game. That would be so anticlimactic. That would mean this entire puzzle, this entire ARG was just a dead-end Easter egg, and I don't believe Scott and Steel Wool would do something like that. In fact, of how difficult this message was to decode, I think we need to take every word of it really seriously. If, as many assume, the message is directed towards Gregory, I think it's significant that it uses the words cry not. I think it's more evidence connecting Gregory to the crying child. However, there's definitely a lot more here. Popular YouTuber FNAF has recently put forward a very comprehensive theory suggesting that Patient 46 is actually Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted's tape girl, who is also the evil robot version of Charlie that's also Baby that William Afton built in the FNAF book series. I'm not kidding, that's actually what happens in the book. Apparently, I didn't read it. The theory is very thorough, and it draws attention to some new evidence that I hadn't heard anywhere else yet. However, I'm positive that Patient 46 isn't the evil robot Charlie who's also Baby from the books. I'm positive it's not a book character at all, and in fact that the books aren't canon to the games whatsoever, nor could they ever really be. Patient 46 is one of the biggest mysteries in FNAF right now. It's one of the few things that went unsolved in the wake of Security Breach's release, and neither myself nor MatPat nor anyone else was really able to say with certainty who it was. Nobody could even really come up with a strong theory for who it was. It seemed like it'd be impossible for it to be Gregory at first, but upon discovering that Patient 46 is a child, we started to wonder if maybe it was possible. Gregory is the only child character in the game, so it was a reasonable line of thinking. Unfortunately, this created more questions than it did answers. If Gregory was Patient 46, why? He doesn't seem like a bad kid, so why was he collaborating with Vanny and murdering therapists and stuff? Don't get me wrong, I kind of want Patient 46 to be Gregory, because I think the idea that this cute, innocent little kid was at one point in the past like a murderous robot under the control of Vanny and Glitchtrap, I think that's kind of cool and interesting, but the theory has some problems and it creates more questions than it provides answers. To get even more meta with it, I don't buy that Scott and Steel Wool are going to reveal Patient 46 to be a book character. I think they've deliberately kept the books and the game separate. One, because they know there'd be a lot of backlash from fans if they explicitly merged the two, but also because the book lore and game lore just aren't compatible. The books contradict the classic games all the time. There are several sub-series within the books that contradict each other, and there are sometimes even contradictions within a single book. Merging the book and game lore just isn't possible at this point, and it doesn't accomplish anything anyway. I'm with MatPat that the books influence the games and vice versa. That by reading the books, we can get a sense of what the rules are for this canon. Like, if the books have robot children indistinguishable from humans, then that's now plausible in the games too. However, they're not going to reveal Patient 46, the single biggest mystery in Security Breach, as being a character that most players wouldn't even recognize. A character that's never appeared in any of the video games themselves. Seriously, can you imagine if the Ruin DLC comes out and it's like, oh my gosh, they're about to reveal Patient 46 and fucking evil robot Charlie Baby walks out? Can you imagine how confused everyone would be? They're not going to have the big reveal be a character that only a tiny fraction of the fan base would recognize or understand the significance of. Newer fans, or fans that didn't read the books, would be like, who is that? And you wouldn't even be able to explain it to them. It'd be like, well, so there was this girl, but then she was built into a robot, but it was 4 robots because the robots can't age, so they built a robot for each phase of her body's development, but then there was an evil version of the robot that's also Baby from Sister Location. It would be terrible. It would be so underwhelming and awful, and this is exactly why I doubt they'll ever truly merge the book and game lore. As it stands, if FNAF's theory is correct, then the only people who could possibly understand this game are like FNAF YouTubers like me who can spend their entire lives reading these stupid books and stuff. Not that I've gotten around to reading them yet. Furthermore, considering the reception the books got, and considering that they haven't really doubled down on that canon or any of these characters in subsequent books, I find it highly unlikely that they would just randomly bring it back now. They can't rely on most of the people playing Security Breach having read this book and recognizing who this character is. It would be bizarre and underwhelming, and it would never happen, guys. This is a problem I see with modern FNAF theories. People try to just bring everything together. They try to take the book lore and fit it into the games as if it's all 100% canon to the same universe, and I just don't think that was ever the intention. I don't think the FNAF novels were ever meant to be part of the games, and I don't think they ever will be. I would be absolutely shocked if Scott and Steel Wool reveal Patient 46 to be any book character. I would be shocked if they reveal any book characters in the games ever, honestly. The FNAF series is all about mysteries and big reveals, but the community has moved on, and the fan base is different from the people who were reading those books 4 years ago. It just seems really implausible to me that they would pick Charlie Robot Baby to be the big Patient 46 reveal. It just seems wrong to me that you could have 100% every single FNAF game, yet when Patient 46 is revealed, you have no idea who they are. Scott and Steel Wool aren't stupid. They're not going to do a reveal that requires reading countless books from years ago to even understand. I don't think Patient 46 is Charlie from the books. However, I do think Patient 46 could be Tape Girl. FNAF pointed that out, and I think that's a really interesting theory that's really quite compelling. I just don't think Tape Girl is evil robot Charlie Baby from the books. Thanks for watching.